Is there anyone out there who still isn't clear about what doing drugs does? This is your brain. This is your brain on magic mushroom, magic mushroom, magic mushroom, magic mushroom, magic
Psilocybin is a molecule found in mushrooms. Psilocybin mushrooms are also known as shrooms or magic mushrooms. Psilocybin has been known for centuries by the Aztecs in Mexico and has been used by many tribes and Native Americans for many reasons. The Aztecs thought the hallucinations had religious significance and were important to tribal rites. In fact, the drug was considered so important that it was called God's flesh. Most recently, psilocybin has been used in Europe and America for psychotherapy.
The magic mushroom, which has been known to give boundless energy.
I will strike every item before it hits the ground.
Visual hallucinations.
Okay, I wasn't ready.
Uncontrollable laughter and profound wisdom.
Well.
You could talk.
That's because you're out of your mind.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Once ingested, most of the psilocybin is converted into psilocin within an hour. The alkali group attached to the indole ring makes the molecule more lipophilic and therefore able to penetrate the central nervous system. In the body, the phosphoric acid group attached to the ring is oxidized, creating psilocin. It is the psilocin that is the highly psychoactive compound that actually affects the brain. The structure of psilocybin mirrors that of some of the neurotransmitter in the brain as it contains the indole ring. The mirroring leads to the psilocybin molecules fitting into receptors in the brain, causing overstimulation. Psilocin binds to and stimulates serotonin receptors. Serotonin is a major neurotransmitter in the brain that is involved in many functions, including regulation of sleep and mood. Psilocin acts on the 1A, 2A, and 2C serotonin receptors, and its action at the 2A receptor accounts for the hallucinogenic effects. Stimulation of the 2A receptors in the cortex may alter communications between the cortex and the thalamus, and this may account for the hallucinogenic effects of psilocin. This means that it actually causes activity to decrease in areas that have some of the densest connection with other areas. The greatest dip in activity were observed in regions of the brain known as the medial prefrontal cortex and the anterior and posterior cingulate cortices. A new study shows that mushrooms are very helpful for therapeutic use.
So the several clinical studies at Johns Hopkins universities have shown that the use of these mushrooms in a clinical setting has been very helpful for people facing end-of-life issues, dying from cancer, for instance, helping people with obsessive compulsive syndrome, even smoking cigarettes, with soldiers coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq who have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and helping people also be better citizens within their communities.
Therapy using mushrooms is much more effective and a lot less expensive than any other therapy out there.
And that's why yellow makes me sad, I think.
That's interesting. You know what makes me sad?
You do! Maybe we should chug on over to Mamby-Pamby land, where maybe we can find some self-confidence for you, you jackwagon!
What do you see? Something's in my room. What is it? It's like it's a figure. It's hovering over me. You are in a safe place, Will. It's touching. Where is it touching you? It's touching me down there. I'm nervous. You don't have to be nervous, Will. We start dancing. The dancing is beautiful. 'Cause we can make a lot of love before the sun goes down. Sky rockets in flight. Afternoon delight.
Although psilocybin has many negative connotations, mushrooms may have a lasting medical and spiritual benefits.
Tripping on magic mushrooms in the name of science. In the American city of Baltimore, researchers at the Johns Hopkins University studied the effects of psilocybin on the brain of volunteers. The results of the tests were quite stunning. After just a single trip, the personality of the patients changed in a positive way. People that participated in the controlled drug sessions said after their mushroom trip, they were more open to ideas and experiences. Some said they were able to enjoy art more and understand an abstract way of thinking.
It's just dramatically changed my life from one of kind of a struggle and an intensity, a lot of work, to a real spontaneity and a real sense of freedom that I don't have to work at it. I just have to show up and be myself and let my brain do what it can do when it's fully functioning.
So the changes in personality we were looking at were from baseline to about 1 or 2 months after that high-dose session. And then again, we looked at changes more than a year later, after people had kind of gone back into their normal lives, and looking to see if these changes persisted. And basically what we found is that the only aspect of personality that changed after the high-dose session was openness. And openness is related to creativity, imagination, an interest in art and music, and also general intelligence.
94% of those who received the drug said that the experiment was one of the top 5 most meaningful experiences of their lives. 39% said it was the single most meaningful experience. People tend to say the psilocybin experience typically involves a sense of oneness with the universe and with others, a feeling of transcending time, space, and other limitations, coupled with a sense of holiness and sacredness.
I emerged from that first session, oddly enough, having an extremely strong sense of self and the importance of me and in my relationship to everything around me. I think what happened was it opened my heart.
Another study shows terminally ill cancer patients struggling with anxiety may get some relief from a guided trip on the hallucinogenic drug. 1 to 3 months after taking psilocybin, the patients reported feeling less anxious and their overall mood had improved. By the 6-month mark, the group's average score on a common scale used to measure depression had declined by 30%.
So the depression itself lifted, except for a day to a week, just a few days. I might fall into a depression, but I can pull myself out of it pretty easily. So for all practical purposes, the depression has lifted, and that was the goal of the study, of course.
After the experiment, many patients said their experience with psilocybin gave them a new perspective on their illness and brought them closer to family and friends.
But there have been a lot of other effects. It seems to have changed the way that my mind processes things. I've gone from micromanaging things, being controlling, to being trusting intuition, much more spontaneous.
This study proved that you can administer these compounds safely to cancer patients with anxiety.
These mushrooms now are being looked upon for therapeutic purposes with a really strong case. Multiple clinical studies, majority of patients, and even the patients that did not have a good experience, the negativity did not extend beyond the experience itself. So after 4 or 6 hours, they're done with it. But the positive benefits extended for more than a year to 2 years out, which means the residual positive effects were substantial and long-lived, whereas the negative effects for the few individuals that had negative effects were short-lived and did not carry on further.
Is anyone out there still not really sure what psilocybin does to your brain? This is your brain. And this is your brain on psilocybin mushrooms.